Okay, welcome back. It's been a little while, but I've reached a new turn, and we've hit what's called strategic reorganization, which gives me a chance to move units around as I would otherwise be prohibited to do. And here's what I've done. I've still kept this section of my battlefield a little bit on the weak side, trying to consolidate my forces for attacks. My big attack's going to be around here. These are just a holding pattern along this way. And here's where we get a little bit stronger. This might be an attack hex here, holding pattern, and big attack hex here. So I got a few hexes that I want to attack from. Something else I'm realizing is I want more reconnaissance. I want more planes. So I'm going to have to invest in artillery maintenance track, air maintenance track, stuff like that. So when it comes time to spend my logistic points or whatever it takes to build those things up, I need a lot more recon. I got to see who's out there. Want to get more looks at his lines. That last turn I took, and like I said, this is my first time ever playing this game, but I only was able to really recon one hex at a time. I don't know if that's standard for the game or what, but I want to do at least 3 hexes with some good reconnaissance. So we'll see if it's available. That's the situation. We'll be back. Welcome back to my war room. Like I said, we're making a new turn, and you always want to go through the rule books, the play books, and make sure you're up to snuff on what's going on with the new turn. One thing I want to point out here with the new turn is the Central Powers player gets the initiative this time. And also, when you're playing a solitaire game, there are these solitaire specific rules, and one of them is aerial reconnaissance, and you can only use one counter between hexes I and K, which would be these 3 hexes here. So I used 2 or 3 of them right here. I was 1 counter away. I'm glad it didn't affect the game, so I'll know that from now on. But it's always good, like I said, to go through the rules, make sure everything's alright. I can only use 1 aerial counter from this hex east. East. Okay, another specific rule. There's a spring offensive coming up by the Central Powers, so not only do they get the first initiative, they also got a little bit of a spring offensive rule that comes along, so I'll have to include in my play. Alrighty, like I said, I did the strategic reorganization. I think I pretty much I've checked it over twice. Got a couple weak spots, but Central Powers guy don't know that, so we'll see what's up. We are coming up to the scoring phase. I don't know if there's any scoring goes on until the end of turn 9 on this scenario, so we might have to skip that. I'll let you know in the next vid. See you in a bit. Okay, welcome back to the production phase of turn 8, where you can see the Central Power AI opponent. It's his initiative, so he'll get first initiative this turn. Did some reinforcements came in. 10 for the French in Paris, and 10 for the British over in England. The United States will get some troops coming on in. The Yanks are coming, boys. And right now we're going to go through to the critical manpower and deployment attrition part. We've already did the deployment, now we'll do the attrition. Attrition will have to come off of the frontline forces. We'll go through some modifiers on die rolls and see what that comes up to. Now, don't really say specifically in the rules what to do, how to do that for the Central Powers player. So when it comes time for his attrition, I recommend you just go ahead and take him off of his total strength points. You can't take him off of the hidden or revealed because you haven't revealed him yet. So take off whatever his attrition is off of total strength points. It don't say nothing about that in the rules, and if the old game designers. I don't know if they got a rules errata for that I haven't seen yet or what, but we'll find out. That's the logical way to do it. So it's probably just, he probably thinks it's just common sense, and I should figure it out myself. So anyway, we'll be back. Okay, we just had the attrition phase, and both players suffered maximum, I think, attritions. Both of them had bad die roll. That's what's left of the Central Powers player. He had a 6. And I think the Allied player did 2, down to 5. So I had to take him off of the front lines here, and -5 for the Central Powers player. Now we're going over here to economic phase. Going to collect us some economic points. And over here under economy and reinforcements for each turn, on turn 8, you'll see that the Central Powers player gets 7, and the Allies get 10. So let me distribute them. Maybe invest in some recon or artillery or whatever else I need. Be back. All right, and get all the economic voodoo. Drew our cubes. It says draw 3 cubes. Determine economic losses. Naval blockade levels and everything else. Anyway, when all the smoke cleared, Central Powers gets 3 economic points. Allies get 8. And the Allied player also suffered some losses on the unrestricted submarine warfare table. And this table right here we used. When the smoke cleared from all those modifiers, the 10 block was reduced to a 7. They lost 3 crossing the channel, I guess. I'll have to move them in there. That's it. Now I get to spend my economic points, like I said. Central Powers player has 3 and the Allies 8. So I'll be right back. Okay, here's a breakdown of my economic points spent. As I stated before, the Allies had 8. They spent 1 on air technology. Gave them 7. -1 for gas mask technology. Gave them 6. -1 for 1 artillery strength point. I increased the value of 1 counter by 1. Gave them 5. 2 for artillery maintenance. Gave them 3 left, and 3 for air maintenance. 0. The Central Power player only had 3. He -1 for air maintenance, another for artillery maintenance, and another one for an artillery counter. So that was it. 1 for maintenance, another 1 for maintenance, and I looked at it and I noticed I needed another maintenance to get my maintenance up to my counters, so I added another arty unit. Hopefully it fits in with the maintenance. On to the next phase. Be back. Okay, now we've done some pre-turn maintenance again. Had to adjust all the tracks, artillery improvements. This track here, air maintenance, tells you the value of all the units that can be in these available boxes. You can see the Central Powers player has a nice little disadvantage, so he needed to bump that up some. Also, here's some more. Here's the value. So these guys can't have more than 6 counters, and unless you reach a certain technology point on your aircraft improvements, none of these counters can have over a strength point of 4. I'm later in the game, and I haven't played up to this point because the solitaire game comes in a little bit later. But so I could use counters with a 4 value or greater. So we're pretty well maxed out on some of these tracks. But like I said, when you start the game off, you'll be starting down here at a little bit of a disadvantage. So that's the situation. Got all the artillery and aircraft allocated and ready for a fresh new phase. We'll be back. Okay, now that we got everything straightened out for the coming turn on the artillery and the aircraft, we're going to an action phase. Now, there's a little bit of a change in the solitaire game. the scenario they got me playing, it's the Central Powers player that has the initiative this turn. So the U.S. reinforcements won't come on until the Allied Allied action phase, so they're gonna have to wait. But the Central Powers unit has the initiative, so he'll be making all his moves per the artificial intelligence or the guidelines for the non-attending Central Powers player. So we'll be back. Turn off my speaker over here. Alright. Now before I jumped the gun again, I shouldn't have spent these 3 economic points for the central player. They spend them for me in the non-player Central Powers economic guide. So turn 7's done with, and turn 8 comes along here, and it gives you the preference on how to spend them. So they'll have 3 economic points to spend according to the turn 8 guide. So if you're playing solo, remember Solitaire Play Guide. They tell you how to spend their economic points. I jumped the gun. Let me spend them the way they want me to. Oh, I've already redid all the spending that I spent them on. I spent them on artillery maintenance and an artillery unit, so I went ahead and minus that artillery strength point and put the 2 points back on the artillery maintenance track. So we're back to where we started. Nothing's messed up, and we're going to spend. Be back. Okay, here now it tells you that there's free items you could add. 2 logistic points I just added on his board, and he gets 1 tank counter. Now I don't think economic points, logistic points. I guess that means that tank counter can be moved up 1, because he don't have tanks. He's just got a Strassenhuben, or whatever those stormtroopers are. So I'll go ahead and move this up 1 to tanks. And then on here it says Air Tech 1. I've already given him 1 air advancement, which is pretty good. They really did need it. Gas Mask Tech 1. So let's see. He only has 3 to spend, so that's 2 already. Make sure I did this right. These are free logistic points, so he didn't have to spend them without spending economic points. Okay, so he's already spent 2. 1 on air tech, 1 on supply. No, none on supply capacity because he doesn't need none. So I didn't spend. He's only got 14 hexes with blocks in it, and his supply capacity is 17, so he can supply a few more hexes. So you'll skip that one. Supply capacity, tank tech 1. So air tech, gas tech, tank tech. Now is it the same as a tank counter? Maybe he gets a Strassenhuben counter. Okay, I already advanced that tank tech up 1. I'm just going to give him a Strassenhuben counter, I guess, because the Central Power player doesn't have tanks, but on their tank Strassenhuben it does. So we'll give him 1 for any breakouts. I haven't used these for any breakouts yet, so we'll see if that changes. But anyway, okay. Economic points spent for both players. Choice: air or artillery maintenance, gas mask, tech. Okay. Let's see what it says here. Any remaining spent on player discretion on choice items listed. So no, he don't have nothing else remaining. He's done used up his 3 on air tech, gas mask tech, and tank tech. Okay, up to date. Ready for the initiative and the movement phase or combat phases for the Central Powers player. He goes first this turn. Okay, here we are about to start the procedure for the Central Powers offensive. After going through the procedures, he is going to launch an offensive right here. And we're about ready to determine the strength of his units in that hex. On a historical note, though, They're bringing in a spring offensive that must have happened back in 1918. And you can see the Germans made it a little bit into France, not much. I mean, if that was the extent of it. Looks like they blitzed a little bit and got bogged up in that trench warfare, as they say. Now, if memory serves me right, this was a Maginot Line for the French. I guess they figured that the Germans would come in their historical way that they did in World War I. But a big difference was, unlike the tanks used in 1918, these old boggers, Hitler employed the Blitzkrieg. And if I'm correct, his mobile forces went around the Maginot Line and blitzed this way. So, we're about ready to go through one of the slugfest, bogged down battles that were common in World War I. And it's the Central Powers' turn, so let's just see what's going on with the first Central Powers offensive. Be back in a little bit. Okay, I forgot to make another note too. This is going to be the first of 3 attacks on the Central Powers offensive chart. He rolled 2 major offensives and 1 minor, so this is the first of 3 offenses. So after 2 turns of sitting back and not doing nothing, that 1918 offensive has launched 3 offensives. So we got 3 offensives to resolve. Okay, the charts and everything have told me that the Central Powers player wants to attack the weakest hex between 2 hexes, which would have been this one right here. So, like any player, he chose to hit the soft spot. Now I rolled for reinforcements. I could have withdrawn or spent a logistic point to add reinforcements, so they got 5 extra strength points that'll help I move more troops into the area. You can see his strength points now. He is attacking with, I think it's 12. And now I'm going to place artillery and get ready for the attack. But that's what goes on there. And it's like I said, it's the first of 3 offensives by the Central Powers player. And now his strength points have been revealed. Time to place some artillery. Be back in a little bit. Alrighty, here we are. After the Central Powers unit just determined how much artillery is going to respond with. I'm not responding that much with artillery. I think I only have 3 strength points attacking the oncoming offensive. I prefer to save my artillery for my own offensive. So, but he is going to hit me pretty good. He's got 7 strength points. It's been determined that will hit me. So. I wonder how the Big Bertha artillery piece comes on in. He's got it in his repertoire, but I don't know how it'd come on into play. I don't have no Big Bertha rules. Again, in the solitaire game, guys, you might want to make a note on that. So I'm getting ready to resolve artillery and then do the combat. We'll see how this first of 3 Central Powers offensives go. Be back after combat. Let's see. The end of artillery, and the artillery did little. My artillery wasn't that much. I just had maybe 3 factors worth of artillery and didn't score any hits. Now him, on the other hand, he had a bunch of mustard gas hits or strikes. I think he had 3 hits total. One was a direct hit where I had to remove 1 factor or 2 factors, and the others were mustard gas attacks. But fortunately for the Allied player, he'd advanced that much. First one's chlorine gas hits you can ignore. Second number is mustard gas hits you can ignore, so I can ignore those 2 4s. So the advancement on the gas mask technology tree helped out on that. So surprisingly, little artillery help for the German player about ready to go over the top. So let me read the rules on the combat, and I'll be back after combat. Okay, time for the Central Powers to attack. Because of trench warfare, The Brits get the fire first. The Central Powers player came over the trench and suffered, I think it was six strength points eliminated, so that was very significant. That's all he's got left. Attacking with 6 out of 12, so he suffered 50% casualties. Not a good offensive. So now we're going to a combat. See if he can't muster any casualties up on the Allied side. Time for the German charge. Okay, the combat's been resolved. And surprisingly, the Central Powers player inflicted 5 strength point casualties. Okay, now as per the special rules on the spring offensive, autofocus. Okay, any Central Power attack that creates a 2-to-1 Central Power advantage and blocks strength points after infantry combat resolution. The Allied player's strength points must retreat 1 hex. Well, he don't qualify for that because he's only got 6 versus 7, 8, 9, and 14, so there will be no retreat by the British forces on that one. On to the next major offensive, and then we'll have one minor one for the Central Powers player, but so far just petered out. Stalemate, the word of the game so far. Bye. Alrighty, found out the location of the second Central Powers offensive, and it pretty well tells you on the chit. You're supposed to draw the chits out of a little cup here, and when you do, on the back of it, it tells you where to attack. Either D hex 1 or D hex 2. There's D hex 2 right there. It says whatever hex the weakest. And this one here would be the weakest of the 2 hexes, so this would be the site of the next major Central Powers offensive. Battery's getting weak, so I'm going to go ahead and do some bunch of combats and stuff, and I'll see you in a little bit. Second major Central Powers offensive was drawn as a channel port, so they're making a run for the port on this offensive. Reinforced from this hex here 5 strength points, and it was my option to place some artillery, but I'm taking a gamble. I'm going to hope my units hold them off in the trench warfare aspect of the game. I'm saving any strength points I have in artillery for my offensive operations. So no artillery in this round. We're just going to have to see what the combat's all about. See if their little offensive bears any fruit. We'll be back. Hey, welcome back to the War Room, Fields of Despair edition. And we're done with the Central Powers action phase 1. And as you can see here on the battlefield, they've made a breakthrough. They've advanced up here, and in their breakthrough movement they've decided to scatter some units instead of putting them all through here. I had to go through some procedures to find out the amount of strength points to put in each hex and where they'd go. So that was all part of the built-in Central Powers procedure of play. Let's look at the battle board now. Coming up to the Allied players' first action phase, so we're going to do some aerial dogfighting and reconnaissance first. Find out who's all down there. But there we go. That is what just changed. Like I said, these units, it was a port attack was where the second offensive came from. So they're going for, I believe that's Antwerp. It might be. I'm pretty sure. They're making a push for there. Now they got one more minor offensive left, so I might have got a little bit ahead of myself and flipping all these units over. So let me make the check on the minor offensive, and we'll see what's coming up next. Okay, the next, or the final offensive. Like I said, there were two major ones. One's putted out, but the third one along the coast achieved a breakthrough. The third one is a on to Paris attack. It's a minor attack. Don't know how many strength points the Essential Powers player has yet, but after he announced the attack, the Allied player decided to spend one logistic point, transfer 5 strength points from this hex to this hex. This one right here. So now we got to determine the strength of the Central Powers player. Be right back. Okay, the Central Powers player and his attack is revealed to have had 14 strength points, so I got to decide whether I want to initiate any artillery. I'm not going to initiate artillery, although I paid the price on this attack. No artillery, and they broke through, so I'm saving my artillery for my offenses. I don't think I can hold them back, so we'll see what's going on. I'm going to make the same decision twice. Might show you how bad I am, but no artillery, and we're going to go ahead with brace ourselves and see if we can't cut down some Germans before they get on over the line, over the trench, or after they get over the trench. Let's mow them down. Hopefully they won't have nothing left. We'll be back with the result of combat. Okay, the German player suffered 4 strength point losses coming over the trench. Now it's his turn for the melee inside the trench. He's attacking with 10 strength points. And we'll be back with the combat results. Okay, the German players inflicted 5 strength point casualties onto the Allied player. So now I determine whether there's a 2-to-1 advantage in Central Power strength points versus Allied strength points. Total Central Power strength points are 10, and Allies are 8. So no 2-to-1 advantage, which means no breakout in the minor offensive. Now that's all 3 of the offensives. The one that kind of petered out up here. The other one right here that achieved a breakthrough, and the minor offensive here on to Paris. So that is it. A little bit of more cleaning up to do. Then we'll go on. Now we'll be able to go on to the Allied portion of the first action phase, turn 8. So like I said, got a little bit ahead of myself. Forgot about this attack, but I think I can straighten everything out. We'll be okay. We'll be back.